Hello. Okay, so I am making this video because I have had in the past a lot of emails regarding how do I basically practice traditional witchcraft. Where do I start? I feel a bit loose-ended. There's so much information, rah rah rah. So I'm going to try and do this video. The first thing I would do is look into historic references, look into the history of the witch trials, also look into old folk magic. That is your key. Look into various different old folk magic that cunning men and cunning folk would have used, including witches as well. Look into that and sort of, get a pen, get a pad, a little book, a lined book and a pen, and just sort of write as you go along, look up various different folk charms, write them down as well. I'm not saying a book of shadows, just a reference book, a book in which you can jot it down in case you forget it, because there is a lot of information. And be careful as well, because especially online, it can get a bit misled and people can put some right crap. A good blog that I can recommend is Sarah Ann Lawless. It's the Witch of Forest Grove. She also has her own range of flying ointments that she has done. I believe she's actually one of the first people to do this as well, as it's quite a risky thing. But yeah, she has her own blog. She's quite good with a lot of stuff that she puts. She also talks about how to work with ancestors, stuff like that. First off, when you start traditional witchcraft, you kind of need to have a base. I'd say like a workbench, this is this is the way that I would do it. Set up an altar. We don't really use the word shrine because you don't really honour the gods in traditional witchcraft. It's much rather pacts. You make pacts with spirits and you make pacts with various gods and different pantheons. And it's more like a workbench because it's witchcraft. It is a craft, and that's what you are going to do. This is going to be a place where you have this is going to be a place where you operate, where you as a witch cast your spells. On that altar, traditional witchcraft uses the stang quite a lot, which represents the horns of Old Horny, and also represents, in the past, it was said that witches would use the stang in order to fly to the Sabbath. So it's a vehicle in which the witch can connect the divine when laying the compass. Then have a hearthstone. I'd recommend a hearthstone in which, preferably from an area in which you live, so you can utilise and work with the spirits of the lands and connect with those. Also, bone as well. Loads of bones. I use bones in terms of the ancestors and calling up the ancestral spirits. I would utilise that. Like some traditional witches have a skull as well on their workbench. I myself have a sheep skull with a load of astrological symbols on it to represent Old Horny, to represent the witch god in various different aspects. And also a human skull as well. It doesn't have to be, human skull, because, it's quite hard and tricky to obtain. But a resin skull, that helps in which that you can connect to the ancestors. Also a knife for cutting things with, and a wand. Wands, again, is a director of your energy. It's a way in which you can send forth your energy and send forth the fetch, which is the spirit of the witch. You can send forth that willpower. So as I said, have your little book as well and write down any experiences in which you will have. Learn first and foremost how to lay a compass round. Don't plunge yourself deep into it. I will say, having said that, I will say that traditional witchcraft is an experience-based thing. You can read up about it, and it's one thing reading about it, but it's another thing actually doing it. And bear in mind, as I said, it is a craft, so it is something that you do need to do. But do your research first. If you're thinking of invoking Kaliak, whoa, do some research there, see what she likes, see what she doesn't like, see her various traits. Do your research, don't just dive in first, but also know that you do need to do some work because it is an experience-based thing, it's a craft. Look into the place and area that you live. Look a bit about learn a bit about the history around it as well, because traditional witchcraft utilizes and works with what's known as the genus loci, the spirits of place, the spirits of the land, which is why whenever I lay a compass, I will light candles for the spirits of the land. Spirits of the land tend to be quite easily pleased, although having said that, I have met some spirits of place that can be quite feisty and quite terrifying. The majority of them, though, they like fire lit for them. Some even like water as well. One of my friends, he works with them, and he gives them water. A very good friend that I love to bits. If you're watching this, I love you. Even like, for instance, picking up litter, it sounds quite hippie-ish, but that sometimes is how they work. They will work in that way, litter picking pleases them because, of course, if you're cleaning up their place, they're going to be pleased. That's an offering within itself. It's showing that respect. Look into the backgrounds of the land in which you live. Also look into witchcraft trials around the area that you live, because that's quite interesting as well. You find out a lot. Read books. Don't be afraid to read books. Pardon me. One book I can highly recommend is Nigel Jackson, Call of the Horned Piper, and that's quite a good book, and that teaches in regards to the traditional witchcraft faith, the belief of traditional witchcraft and sort of various ways in which it's practiced. He's quite an informative guy as well, really knows his stuff, and he's well looked up to. Also as well, get involved with the pagan community, find out about your local moot. Moots are basically pagan meetups, if you're over 18, yay, go look for a moot. If you're under 18, sorry, you'll have to wait a couple of years. It's normally around 18, that is sort of the limit. What else? I'm trying to think of other things to do. Another thing, go with your heart whenever you do rituals. Don't just lay a compass and be like, right, now what do I have to do? What was it in the book? I have to do. No, go with your heart. A lot of times in spells and in rituals, I tend to have a habit of just going, right, okay, so this is blah, 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 this is what's happening, blah, 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 and just pour your heart out. That's what I do. I speak to the spirits and I pour my heart out to them. This is why I feel like we should do this, because of blah, 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 and because of this reason, and I feel that it makes it a lot more personal as well. It's that plea, and it's being sincere as well, it's showing sincerity. But yes, look up old folk magic traditions, look up the spirit of the place, set up a workbench, like a work area in which you can work. Some people have various different workplaces as well. You can also have cauldrons on the workbench are a good thing, especially if you don't have a hearth. If you do have a fireplace and you do have a hearth that nobody is using, set it up on that. A witch's hearth is a really traditional place of work. It goes way back to the pagan hearth, in which people would offer sacrifices and work various charms and stuff like that, and petitions to the spirits and the gods. And it's traditionally a place of cooking, a place of manifesting things. So the hearth is a really good place to work magic. As I said, have your book as well, have that little notebook and just jot things down as you go. We're all learners. We all, I am constantly learning. I am always learning. I don't pretend to be this higher wizard sort of supreme, I don't pretend to be that. I am only a human. And that is it, just learning, Another thing as well is dedication. You need to show dedication. This is me personally. This is all coming from my personal, opinions on things. You need to show dedication to the spirits and to the gods in which you work with. A good book to read is Mastering Witchcraft by Paul Hewson. I really recommend this book. I love this book. It's amazing. He actually speaks about, in the beginning of this book, the first steps of traditional, of practicing witchcraft. It's kind of, if traditional witchcraft met Wicca, it's quite joined with Wicca. So be aware of that, and be aware that a lot of the things that happens in this book that he talks about, some of the methods he uses aren't particularly traditional witchcraft, but again, there is a huge part of traditional witchcraft in this book. Anyway, at the beginning, he speaks of a mark of dedication, morally a mark of removing any dogma that you have attached to you. And you're going to be some people might blush or not blush, but some people might shy away from this and be quite freaked out, but he uses the Lord's Prayer backwards as a kind of first step thing. And he uses that as a sign of releasing all dogma, all morals, all ethics, anything like that, guilt. And it's about releasing, the witch is seen as a person who is free. The witch is seen as a person who is free of all morals and stuff like that. A witch is a person who makes their own decisions. It's not being moralistic, it's doing what is right, to that person. So it's basically a sign of a sign of release from that dogma and that kind of oppression, so to speak, that some people may feel. Some people may say it's quite disrespectful as well to the Christian faith. Traditionally, the Lord's Prayer backwards is a big witch thing. It first came up in the witch trials. It was probably a demonization of witches. However, in modern traditional witchcraft, you do use the Lord's Prayer backwards. It's mainly for big initiation rites, for coven rites and dedication rites. However, Paul Hewson uses this as a first step thing. So maybe that might be something you want to look into. I don't know. It's your own path, But yeah, so start by just forming a relationship with the spirits around you, form a relationship with your ancestors, look into your ancestral tree, look into things. And yeah, that's all I can say, really. I hope this video helps, and peace.